Hi, I'm Emily Taylor from Collage Quilter. In this video, I'm going to show you how to join two blocks together that have been quilted independently. So these are part of the garden party pattern, and you can see that I have done the quilting on them already, and now they're ready to join together. So this is really simple and fun to do, and let's get started. So first of all, what I'm going to do is, you can see that with the quilting, I've got the backing, and the batting are hanging over. So I just need to trim those up. So I'm going to trim all around each block so that it just is the 14-inch square block of the front of the block. So let me do that, and then we'll get over to the ironing board and I'll show you how I'm going to press them. So just trim right along those edges. And by the way, don't quilt. When you quilt these blocks, make sure that you leave 3/4 of an inch from the edge unquilted. So I marked my blocks so that I know where to stop my quilting. Okay, so here's one block that's ready to go. So I'm going to show you over here right now what I'll do, and I'll do the same thing with the poppy block, but I'm going to separate the backing fabric and the batting from the front. I'm going to press those back so that I can see where to stitch along the edge of the block. And it might be helpful to pin this to make sure that it stays out of the way. And oh, you know what? I did it along the wrong side. Let's start over. Gotta get it right. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I've just pressed that so that I can see, so I've got a clear edge. That's going to be the edge where I stitch this block. So now I'm going to trim this block up, and I'll do the same thing. So this pattern is, as I've said, it's part of a quilt along that we're doing with my Facebook group, my Collage Quilter Academy Facebook group. But you can buy this pattern on collagequilter.com. Right now it's a downloadable pattern only, and when the quilt along is finished, I will have this available as a physical pattern. So it will be in a booklet. There are 12 blocks, flowers and bugs that just make this beautiful, fun. It's a fun, happy project to make, and you can do one block a week like we're doing, or work at your own pace. Okay, so I've trimmed that one up. Now the same thing, I'm going to make sure that I join it. Okay, so it's going to be on that side. So I'm going to pull this fabric. I'm going to make sure that I press that fabric, the backing fabric and the batting out of the way, like that. Okay, so there's the block, and here's what it looks like on the back. So you can see, again, I've had to make sure that I don't quilt all to the edge, because I need to be able to fold the batting and the backing fabric out of the way. Now I'm going to join these two blocks together, just edge to edge, and I will bring this over to my machine. So I'll pin this, and then I'll take it over to my machine and stitch it up. So I'll be right back. All right, so here I am doing a 1/4 inch seam with these two blocks together. As I've said, I've folded back the batting and the back fabric and you can see how densely this has been quilted, because I always recommend very dense quilting when you're doing collage, because it's all raw edged. So I'm just putting these blocks together, and then we will go back and trim up the batting and stitch it together so that it just stays together while in the quilt, until I can quilt over it again. Okay, so let's take that pin out, and then you can see that perfect seam right there. Ta-da! So now what we're going to do, I'm going to go over here and press these down again and trim this. So first of all, I'm going to press open that seam, and then I'll close these and trim the batting. So let's, I'll meet you back over at the workstation. All right, so you can see that I've kind of trimmed up the batting on both sides so that it lays flat, and it almost butts up next to each other. And now I've got a needle and thread, and I'm just kind of stitching them together, and you can kind of see how easy it is to just pull those pieces together so that it will be just one continuous surface as I finish the quilt. Now this is a kind of a nitty-gritty detail. Like, if you don't want to do this, that's okay too. I would recommend trimming your batting though, and making sure that it lays flat, and then you can simply catch it. Oh, I need to lengthen out my thread here. There we go. Okay, so the other thing, you don't necessarily need to do this step, stitching, but I just kind of want to make sure that I show you everything. And this does give me peace of mind knowing that it's going to lay flat as I finish the back of the block. So you can see this just takes a few minutes of securing these batting pieces together. It's really super simple. I don't even know what this stitch would be called. It's just securing it together. Okay, so there we go. And make a little knot here. Not that it will necessarily stay, but okay. Then what I will do is I just want these pieces to see how they also overlap. So I can tuck one of them, I'll tuck this one down underneath it, and I'll press this, and then I will fold a 1/4 inch seam on this one, a scant 1/4 inch seam, so that it lays flat right there. And then let me show you 2 ways that I have finished this. So that's how that seam is going to lay. So let me show you again. So I'm just pressing this one underneath. This one will have a 1/4 inch. I'll press this at a 1/4 inch and then just overlap it so that there's no raw edge there. And then I can put this in my machine and I can just stitch right along there. Like I've done in, let me show you a couple of the blocks that I've already done this way. I'm not going to show you the front. Okay, so you can see that I've just stitched right along that seam, and it secures it, folds it. It's really super nice and tidy. And then on the front, you can just barely see the stitching on the front. And I think this was a super simple way to finish it, and it looks really tidy. The next step then would be for me to, while I have this under my machine, just go ahead and finish the quilting if I need to finish the quilting there. The other option is to join those 2 pieces like this with embroidery. So I did this on on a different block set. And of course, doing the hand stitching adds a little bit of labor and it's a little more time intensive, but it's kind of a fun look. So you could play with this doing an embroidery stitch with your machine or doing hand embroidery, but either way, what you're going to do is just make sure that these are secured together in a nice clean seam. So now you can see once I get this finished, I can go back if I need to and just kind of touch up the quilting. I don't think I'll need to. I think I'm just going to stitch along that ditch. So I will see you in just a second. All right, here I am at the machine. I'm just following, I've got my number 1D. It also has a dual feed with my Bernina, which is nice. If you have a walking foot, I recommend that. But I'm just lining this seam, this folded edge, right up with the center of my needle. And I've got it on kind of a wide, I don't know what kind of stitch this is called. Not a zigzag, but a rounded zigzag. I'm going to stop my stitching about 3/4 of an inch from the edge because I need to make sure that I leave space to join the next row of blocks. So here is the finished, here's the finished seam on the back and the finished seam on the front. There you have it. That is joining two blocks together using this quilt as you go method for the garden party quilt. And you can purchase this quilt and learn more at collagequilter.com. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.